What up, fight fans? We're here today, Off Script Sports Episode 5, live with Mario, sPidA, Gary, and the
Yes, sir.
Afro Samurai,
How you
Adarius
doing?
Diamond. We're here today. We're bringing up some great things. But first, I want to send it to Mario. Mario, how you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I mean, weather's changing, it's starting to get warmer, so no complaints. But yeah, other than that, man, just staying busy, bro.
I love it. Adarius, how we doing, Afro Samurai?
I feel good, man. Staying warm, staying active. That's it.
Man, staying warm. I'm telling you, today I woke up, or 2 days I woke up, I went outside, I saw snow. I just came from Canada. As you know, if you listen to the Tuesday show, we were in Canada. We were live. It was fun. It was 2 feet of snow. It was terrible experience. But we brought the La Nina down from Canada and we brought it to Texas. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you really love the snow and you got to build a snowman for the first time, I want to tell you that you should thank me. But I also wanted to talk about today, which we didn't really get to Tuesday. A lot of active news on the MMA wire when we came down to it, and we're gonna jump right into a really cool subject for most. I really wouldn't think that this guy would retire. He's one of the I guess dogs in the division. When you think of Anthony the Lionheart Smith, you think of somebody who is just a go getter, somebody who fights with all his heart.
Oh,
He's
there you
he
go, the
he leaves
man.
everything in the ring, and for him to announce that he's retiring after his next bout, it brings to the question, which I want to lead with, is what are your guys' perspective on his career in a whole? I want to lead with Adarius. What do you think about Anthony Lionheart Smith? How do you feel his career and what it
Um,
stepped down to?
he's a great fighter. He's a great commentator as well, I think. Sometimes. I think he's still got a lot of growing in that department. But as far as his career goes, he's given us a lot of great fights, a lot of great moments, and he's also had a lot of terrible moments, but a lot of fighters do. But other than that, I think he's had a generally overall just a good career. It wasn't nothing astonishing to keep your eye on, I don't think, but it was something like every time he fights, okay, we'll watch this fight.
Okay. I mean, Mario, whenever you look at that fighter and you're talking about like calling quits and you look at that connection to where that he had with his corner. And Darius, I want to get your perspective on this too. Whenever you talk about like the commitment to say that someone's been with you for every fight that you ever fought, from amateur down all the way up to pro, and the one fight that he wasn't there for you in your corner, what is that? What type of emotions do you think were going through his head whenever he didn't have that emotional support in his corner?
No, I mean, for one thing, I mean, his coach, I mean, of course, they spend a lot of time, when it comes to training. So for somebody to not be there, that's going to be watching your back and watching your mistakes, calling them out, right? You know, it, it's a sense of security, man. I mean, obviously he relied on his coach that much, but it does happen though. I mean, I think there was an instant where Jeff Neal fought and his
Mm.
coach couldn't make it, COVID, and he was losing like two corner guys, and he was just like, man, it was he fell off because of it, and that makes sense because I mean, of course, like I said, they're your second eyes, bro. They're watching you, they're watching your opponent. When you come back, they're like, hey, this is going on. You got to do this, and the fact that it affected him the way he did makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and Darius, how do you
I
feel?
would agree. I would agree on that. If it's something you and your coach have discussed, like, hey, I need you here for fights. This is something that affects me. This is something I'm gonna need. Your cornering makes me feel comfortable, makes me feel safe, makes me feel secure. Then I think it's on the coach's job, or it is the coach's job to show up and present himself in a manner that helps the fighter. But
Yeah.
there are circumstances out of 64 fights, you got to think, man, one of them I might not make it.
Yeah.
And you can't just, maybe I would say write them off or shun them because out of your 60 something fights, he wasn't there for you,
Mhm.
because he's been there for you every other time. And
Mhm.
I'm sure, that's how it goes sometimes. But that's basically how I feel about it.
Man, I get that, but the one thing that happened was that I think he ended up dying. So his number one guy died. So he
Yeah.
was
Oof.
he said he cried on the way to his sessions. He cried all the way He cried leaving the session. So it was just to him crying the entire time. Like he cried. He's like, I cried so much that I cried on the way to the octagon. When he left out of the his locker room, he cried. He was crying. He was in the room emotional. To have that type of emotion to spew out, it may not have been the best fight for him, and he says that in his post conference. But I'm gonna end it here, and we got 50 seconds to wrap it up. But I'm saying that is it. How do you feel his career ends up to say that Anthony Lionheart Smith, if you had to rank him in the top 100 fighters, would he be in your top 100?
Top
88.
100, like the past
Top
like 5 years.
top
I
100,
mean,
top
maybe.
100 all time.
80.
Yeah,
He's
he
somewhere in the
retired.
80s. Somewhere
He's
in the
somewhere in the
80s, man.
80s. He's in the 80s.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
guys, we heard it first here. We're gonna start this fighter. We're gonna start this fighter ranking system just for retired fighters. I don't want to count the guys that are already done or that are still competing, but the guys that are done. And you're saying that we're gonna put together a list. I'm telling you, Anthony Smith is not in that list. He's not in the top 100 fighters of all time. We're gonna end it with that,
Uh,
guys. We're gonna go on to our next subject. Fighters not wanting to be in the cage. I'm gonna lead with Adarius on this one. Adarius, has it ever came to mind where you were in the cage and you were thinking about just not wanting to fight?
uh, I want to say there's been a time. No, no, there hasn't. It's maybe been like, oh man, I'm really losing. I need to win, or oh man, I might have some things to do after this. I have to win, make it short. But I've never once been in there middle of the fight and thinking I shouldn't be here. It's never happened.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I'm bringing to an instance right now when former flyweight champion Sonny Edwards told his cornerman exactly how I was feeling. And his cornerman, I mean, he blew. Like, is he really telling me the truth? I don't want to be here. And it was revealed later that Edwards knew going into the fight that he planned to retire afterward, win, lose, or draw. Injuries have been piling up. His 12 years as a pro have been taking a toll on his livelihood. You got family, you got lives, you got life's a bitch. And whenever life gives you those lemons, it's really freaking hard to just make lemonade every single time. You get tired of lemonade. You get tired of doing the same old, same old. So to be in this position and just to give up and to not want to fight, I don't know what his corner would be in, Mario, in a position that you were that you're in and representing fighters. If a fighter tells you that, hey, I don't want to take this fight or I don't want to do this, or how do you react to that?
I've actually been in that position, man. I mean, throughout the years, where people actually have or fighters have confided in me, and they're like, "Man, I'm not feeling it." And my first thing is, if you're not feeling it, man, then don't fight, bro. I mean, not if you're not gonna go in there. Everybody thinks, okay, because I'm working out and I'm running and I'm hitting the bag, I'm ready. But if you're not there ready mentally, like there's no way, bro. You got to be in there with both mentally and physically. So if you're going in there half-assed or just knowing yourself that you're not gonna be able to perform and just be game ready, man, then yeah, I would say don't do it. I mean, it's the fight. I mean, even at that, say it's a title fight, say it's in the UFC, it changes things, but at the same time, I mean, if you really care about that fighter, if you're really concerned and like, okay, you know what, man, like let's pull him. I mean, that would be the best thing to do. I mean, I would say, but I mean, there's a lot riding on it, bro. So it just depends on the situation. I mean, the fighter knows, the coach knows the fighter, and they know, like, man, he has up and down. He always comes back, then yeah, he could probably already understand that. You know what, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be ready come fight day. I mean, might at that level. I mean, a lot of fighters have said they still get nerves. If you don't, it's just people react to it differently. But yeah, man. I mean, especially amateurs, regional. I would pull them, dude. I mean, there's no way I would let somebody step in if they're not going to be mentally ready.
Wow. I mean, you could have said it better yourself. And Darius, I want to ask. I mean, I also want to look into one of the gentlemen that were commentating on the fight, and he said he knew how he felt. He suffered
Yeah.
from anxiety, he suffered from depression, and when you suffer
Yeah.
from those things, you or it's really easy to empathize with how the fight felt. You know, even though
Yeah,
he's like, it's different because if I told you, hey man, $1 million on the line,
yeah, that's
million
true.
dollars on the line, baby, let's
I
go.
mean, I would have to
And
side with Mario. If you know that if you knew this fighter wasn't ready going in and the fighter knew, just don't go.
yeah,
It's not worth your health. It's not worth your family seeing you get hurt potentially. And you might go out there and not want to go and perform the best you've ever performed, but you're
yeah.
not going to feel that satisfaction because you didn't want to be there. So I have to side with Mario.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I mean, that's really important. On a lighter note, I really wanted to jump into today to talk about Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler has called out the one, the only, the baddest man that says that he's the Patty Pimlet of them all. He's young. He's hungry. He's calling on everybody. First, this guy calls out Conor McGregor. Then he calls out Patty Pimlet from the fighter's perspective of just looking for a fight. Darius, I gotta ask, what's Michael's perspective here? What is he trying to do?
I think Michael may have made enough money in ONE FC or wherever he was before that
Mhm.
he only wants money fights or he only wants exciting fights. So he's willing to risk calling out these fighters to get those fights versus waiting for Dana to say, "Hey, here, this is all we got." You know, if he can create some type of relationship where him and the fighter don't like each other and it sells tickets and stuff like that. I think he's making moves in his bank account.
I know. I'm and Mario. I know you can agree that Mauso fights, right? The young, the hungry. But from what he's saying
Right.
is that what happened. But I'm from the show me now, right? Show me what you've done to deserve to even fight it. Patty's over here beating up people because they calling him making fun of his hair, right? You're like, come
Oh,
on, Conor McGregor hadn't fought in 4 years, so we don't even know. Like, okay, that's not even something I
oh
would
yeah.
even buy or even want to see.
Yeah,
Where does that even sit on a card? But to call out the young, the hungry, the Patty's even looking for a fight himself. I'm pretty sure he's been being offered fights, but he's not taking those fights because they're not top five fights,
yeah,
and for this Michael to come challenge, to come in and say I'm ready, I'm young, I'm hungry, and then he goes there and gets splat. I mean,
Yeah.
Mario, is it the best thing for him to do? Like this is where I really do believe that there needs to be like a UFC senior edition.
Well, man,
really.
I mean, Chandler came into the UFC with a win. After that, I mean, he's lost to Oliveira, Gaethje. He beat Tony Ferguson, of course. That's his only, I guess, in the past 2 years. His only win. The fact that he called out Pimblett, man. I mean, I think that was a smart move on him because he's going to stay relevant. He's
Mhm.
going to keep his name out there. He's going to keep getting those money fights. So it makes sense because I mean, at this point, I mean, is he up for a title? I mean, should he fight for a title? You know what I mean?
No,
So it just keeps him in that top 15
No.
to where, yeah, so it's like if he fights Pimblett, he went, and people are like, oh, okay, well, he's going to win again, or he's going to start, a win streak or whatever. But, um, you know, can he beat Pimblett? That's my question, man.
I'll give you three people. Kobe Covington, can he beat Kobe
Uh,
Mm,
at 170?
oh no,
yeah, I think he beats Colby on something.
Darren Till,
at
No,
170, I don't
Darren
see
Till is
that, bro.
hard.
Darren Till, it may be like 185.
No, Darren
You
Till
see,
is
man,
not getting
but
beat by Patty.
No,
Michael
Darren
Chandler,
Till. We're talking about Darren Till and Michael Chandler.
Darren Till and Michael Chandler is not even a good matchup. It would never happen.
no.
Never happened. All right. So we talked about one fight that he could possibly have, and that would be with Kobe. And he think that he would smack Kobe. He said, I would love to smack Kobe in the face and fight him at 170 at one point. But I don't think that'll be next. I mean, he's lost the
Oh,
joke. He's lost the joking Buckley. So I don't really care what he has to say to me at all.
well, look at Kobe's record, bro. I mean, at this point, that if it was to be like a main event on the undercard or the head, the main fight on the undercard, then people people might want to see that, but I mean, is it going to make either one a better, rank? Is it going to give them a ranking? No, it's just going to be one of those fights that some people might want to see, and some people, might get paid well, but they're both. I mean, for me, they're both on their way out.
Wow.
That's how I feel. That's how I
Yeah.
feel.
So
Yeah.
again, the senior league needs to happen. I mean, Danny, if you're listening, or if you ever do listen to the show, don't forget about the little guy that said we need to create a senior league
Well,
for fighters.
I think that senior league ended with Bellator, bro. Honestly,
I mean, was it really a senior league? I don't even think it was a
it's kind of like
senior.
where they win, man.
Listen,
I mean, and I don't say that in a bad sense, because I mean, of course, the fighters still wanted to compete. Nobody, because somebody gets let go from the UFC doesn't mean that they got to retire. A lot of them
I
they
mean,
go back.
yeah,
But
they're,
Bellator,
they're
basically where all the UFC veterans were go to, and I think that GFL, I forgot the name of the promotion, but that one's coming up, and it's picked up a bunch of UFC veterans, bro, and it's just like people are calling it the senior league because it's a lot of UFC like veterans, from past
that's
years.
crazy. You say I know a guy named Chauncey Foxworthy. They just signed him. He's only 27,
Yeah,
28, something like that.
no, yeah,
wow.
so
I mean,
people might still want to see him, or even international promotions that they do real well with getting UFC veterans because they're a big name. They put them against a local fighter that's on a win streak, and they get paid well, and hopefully they win. Ooh, nice.
wow. I mean, right on cue, we came into it again. Well, since we do have this senior leagues, I kind of wanted to just see it named as the senior league and really see these guys go. But I really think that the grappling situation that they got going on at UFC, that professional grappling, I think is where it's gonna all end up at. I think those guys, a lot of the old guys that are gonna retire, are gonna end up there, end up making more money in their career. Which moves us on to our next subject. I'm gonna ask the guy who's been able to knock people out in 11 seconds. What do you think's next for the Vilishi, Maklovec, and Prokov? I mean, they obviously all of them made statements with Islam disposing of Mosiano for to defend his title, and everyone saw the upset with Merab and against Umar because that was essentially a fight that he was supposed to lose against the one, the great, the only, the Sambo champion of everything, Habib. But how do you feel like the statement that Islam made and the statement that Merab made in defending his title?
I think that I think they made great statements. Honestly, I think Islam just proved once again that they're going to have to bring in a little bit more people who are prepared and higher caliber for him, and maybe from someone around in his same country or maybe has trained on his team. I think it's going to lead in that direction. And as far as Marab, um, I think that I think that he's probably maybe got a good 5 fights before he starts losing. I think that keeping a pace like that really takes a toll on your body. And he's doing good right now where he's at. But as the years go by and progress, there'll be better fighters to challenge him.
Wow, I mean that's very insightful. But when you look at Islam, right? When you look at Islam, me and Mario were talking about this earlier, and we were talking about who should be next. I mean, ESPN has Charles Oliveira as being the next person, and whenever we look at Mario, like we both scoffed at it, or we were like, "Nah, it can't be Oliveira." But like, who else is there? Like when we look at the rankings, and as we bring those rankings up, when we look at the rankings of lightweight rankings,
Yeah.
I believe that it's just the same guys that are just at the top of that list.
Yeah, that's
As
why I'm saying that I don't see anyone on in the roster in that weight division trying to challenge him or anything. I'm not surprised if he doesn't go to 170 because there's nobody there.
yeah, I mean, like there's what Armand who got hurt, Oliveira, Gaethje, he busted through Poirier, he's busted through Max, Dan Hooker. We know what Dan's gonna bring. Then they got Chandler who's begging for a title shot, and like we're nowhere. But like is I truly believe that this is one of the best divisions to fight in. And
Yeah.
like I think that the lightweight division is severely underranked, and Islam is not necessarily may not be the best there right now, but I just think the talent level that for the lightweight division has just gone down drastically. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
What do you think, Mario?
man, for me, I mean, it goes back to like, say if Khabib wouldn't have retired, who'd be fighting Khabib? You know what I mean? Like it's a weird situation because a lot of these fighters, for the most part, a lot of their teammates were fighting in other promotions, getting their titles because they knew like at 155, there's only one UFC 155 title. You can't make it to the top without fighting your teammate. But
Yeah.
as far as like what's next, I mean, there's you know what's next is him actually taking a super fight at 170
So you want to see him
or
fight Muhammad? You want to see him Muhammad for a super fight?
I would honestly, I would. I'm
Yeah.
That's a good
champion versus
fight. That's a
champion.
good fight.
I mean, they're both scrappers, dude. I mean, Muhammad and Bilal. I mean, he's one of those survivors, man. Like where you got to knock him out or submit him, and that would be a good fight for him because when it comes to styles make fights. I mean, they're both grapplers, but at the same time, they can both scrap, dude. I mean, it would be interesting. I'll put it that way. Like Islam would have to, either take him out. I don't think I'm sure he could take him down, but I don't know. I don't know if he'd be able to
Maybe
submit.
Bilal goes down just to make the money instead of Islam going up.
Yeah.
Can Bilal make
I don't
money?
think Bilal can go down. He's too big.
Yeah, I
He's
mean,
too big. Like he's a big boy. Like,
I'm sure walks around like at 180. I think on the interview with DC, he had told him he had asked him how much he was weighing, and he said 185. So he
okay.
can he can easily make 170. It's like he doesn't have to
He's
cut
like
his money.
me at 155.
Yeah, I agree. But just to put it into it, I really don't think Islam wants that smoke. Bilal's got some going on. But I would Styles makes fights, and it's a fight that I would want to see. It's a fight that I would pay money to see. But it wouldn't be a headliner. I'm sorry, Makalik Muhammad would not. It wouldn't sell very many pay-per-view tickets.
He
Could it
already
be a
does
co-main
that.
event? Could it be a co-main? Yeah, but is it a fight that people pay to see? No. But a one
No.
fight that we talked about, and I want to get a fighter's perspective on it before we move on. We got 33 seconds. We were talking about Sean Brady versus Jeff Neal. I'm not sure if you know it, but we Mario represented Jeff. But how do you feel about Sean Brady versus Jeff Neal? We recently
Jeff
went out.
Neal is one of my top five favorite fighters, and I think that he's gonna smash Sean Brady 100%.
I love it. The fight
I think
hasn't
that's a
happened
give
yet.
me. I think it's a give me just a little
Look,
bit.
if we're gonna end it with this one. If you were Sean Brady, would you accept the fight with Jeff Neal?
No. Well, what do the numbers look like?
Yeah,
Right?
What do the
I was
numbers
gonna
look
say,
like?
I
man.
mean, you're number 5. He's number 10.
No, I'm
You
not
see,
going
man,
backwards
let
to
me
give a
let me
10.
say,
You're giving
let
a
me
10, a really good 10, an opportunity to go up versus just furthering yourself going up and up.
yeah, but if you look at Sean Brady's fight record, man, he hasn't fought. He hasn't stayed consistent, man. So I mean, if he hasn't fought, like he's only fought like what twice in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
He did a
Yeah.
grappling match. I mean, he hasn't been keeping busy because a lot of fighters don't want to fight him. So I mean, what other option would he have? I mean, if that's not the fight, I mean, I know they did. Somebody had said, Kobe Covington against Jeff, and it's like I wouldn't want to see that, man. I want to see him fight like somebody that's still in the game.
Oh yeah. You
Like I said,
can.
Kobe's on his way out for me. I mean, he's still a tough dude, but I don't think
Yeah,
he's
to
out
me,
there.
if you fight Kobe Covington, then you're close to getting kicked out of the UFC.
That's crazy. I like that. We're gonna write that. Make sure you put that on record. Jamie, save
Yeah,
that for the
man.
record, baby. Jamie, save that for the
Let,
record.
let me
If you
bring in
ever fight Kobe Covington, you're
let
about
me
to get
bring in our
kicked out.
next guest, Kobe Covington, real quick. No, I'm
Yeah,
just
Kobe Covington. Kobe,
Oh,
welcome to the
I'll fight him
stage.
for $1 right now in my front
I love it.
yard.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
We'd sell a lot of tickets.
I promise you, I know you guys would. All right, guys, we're gonna end the segment and we're gonna put this 5-minute focus on you, Darius. We want to talk about, it it may be just one thing to people to say that you're talented, you're misunderstood, but you have a heart of gold. You truly believe that you are 101, right?
Yes, sir. A lot
Yeah,
of people don't
and
know, but I actually do have a heart of gold, man. You can see it. So I try to stay
so
consistent.
let's use this stage to talk about that. Tell us about you.
Well, I love MMA and all of my. A lot of people don't know that all of my MMA sponsorship money I use to give back to my hometown with Christmas gifts, and I've given away over the last 2 years $5,000 to various families who don't have anything, much less hot water. Some of them don't have clean water because my hometown, Trinity, Texas, is actually going through a water crisis where we've been on a
Damn.
boil notice for about 2 years. Um, so, that's just a little bit. And other than that, I take care of my family and I try to take care of my team. And I'm maturing more as a man. And I can feel that as a fighter. I'm maturing more as a man.
Man,
Wow, that's really
that's not a heart
impactful.
of gold. I don't know what is, bro. That's good. Good stuff, man.
Well, I have a question for you two, actually. Um, Mario, what drove you to being who you are as a commentator today?
For me, I love to talk, so it makes sense. I'm nosy, so it makes sense. I want to know what's going on. No, but I mean, I've been a fan of combat sports for years, man. I mean, I started training here in San Antonio back in 1999 under Rango Valetudo. And many people, like I've had people on here prior, and it's like I tell them, this is before the term MMA was even around. We're calling it freestyle fighting, Valetudo, combat. We called it everything else, but for the most part, it was just for me. It was therapy, man. It was just training, going out there and getting beat up or beating people up. But um, for me, I think it was 2005 when I was still teaching. I was actually teaching under Carlson Gracie Senior, man, here in San Antonio at Wonderland Mall of all
Wow.
places. So after that ended for me, I just wanted to stay involved. My friend Chris Lopez Jr., who's back in New Braunfels, he was the original owner of TexasFighting.com, and when he decided to step away, he gave me the company, and I just kept up with it, man. It changed over the years, but I love helping people, man. I'm one of those guys, bro, and like you mentioned earlier, I love helping people even when I need help. I'm that kind of person. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be drowning, but somebody's like, "Hey, can you help me?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" Like it just I don't want to stop. I want to keep going and helping as many people as possible, man.
And JVC Green, the voice of the
What you got,
cage.
buddy?
I want to ask you a very personal question. And you've been in the cage with me. You've seen me and my wife before. How did it make you feel knowing that someone who came there with no team, with only his wife and kids in his corner, achieved something great? And I also want to know what makes you want to be in the position where you have the opportunity to interview fighters as such.
To answer your question, someone with no team has rarely ever wins. They just
Hmm.
don't have it, right? They don't. You show up with your team. You don't have any support. Nobody's for you. Everybody's against you. It's a terrible decision, right? Right? No.
Yeah.
To go out and win somebody in 11 minutes, 11 seconds, I'm sorry, it's great. Something amazing. Something you can't write that story, right? Boom. And then to see the story behind it and get mistold. Because it's like, that's not who he is. That's not who he represents. He's a nice guy. Just listen. Flow with him. Do what you got. Do what you got to do to grow. And so when I see that, I see somebody who may be misunderstood. I see somebody who has a heart of gold. Somebody who truly wants to better his family, to better his life, and to stay committed to something that he loves. And that's what you are.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That means a lot.
There we
Yeah,
That
man.
means a
go.
All
lot.
right, bro.
Absolutely.
Hey, let me say this, Adarius, man, real quick. I've seen you K side, bro. I've seen you before, like warming up, and I gotta say, like I want to meet people when they don't know I'm watching. I'm that person. Like I read people. You know, it's like the old term: you can't bullshit a bullshitter, man. Like I've been there. I've been that guy, and I've seen you before your fights, man. And you're very humble, dude. You've been very very respectful. You know, to your opponents after the fight, and that speaks volumes. You know, I mean, there's a lot of you mentioned earlier as far as having a chip on your shoulder, like going into it, but yeah, man. I mean, but I've seen you outside the cage, man, and you know, definitely good people, bro. I'll say that.
Yeah, man, thank you. I try my best, and like I say, the character who I pretend to be isn't the character I love to be. So that'll be something you guys can always remember for me is that I love to play a bunch of different characters, and the character of an MMA fighter comes with a little grit, and the character of donating to your hometown when they've really never known you comes with a little morality. So when you learn both sides, you become kind of a gentle person and you never know what anyone's going through and why they're even fighting MMA. Some people don't even know why they're truly fighting MMA. So that's why I'm nice to everyone.
I love it. I love it. Mario, last comment. What you got?
Man, I just want to say, Adarius, thank you for joining us. I mean, for everybody out there, of course, once again, make sure you follow us on our social media outlets. I mean, we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram. I think Jesse has an OnlyFans. I'm not sure. I'll plug that in later. But other than that, man, thanks everybody for chiming in and joining up, man.
There. Last comment. What you got?
I just want to thank you two guys for giving me a great platform to express myself. And I want you guys to continue doing amazing videos and shows. And shout out to Wendy Sports and Fitness in College Station, Texas. They've
Where
done
can
everything for me.
where can we
And
find you on socials?
you guys can add me on Instagram at Adarius Diamond underscore MMA. And that's my life. So, yeah.
Sweet, brother.
Let's get it, fight fans. We'll be back. We can't wait to see you again. We'll see you next time, knuckleheads. Have a good night.
All right. See you guys. So next time.